There is a dead body in the vehicle, Hammer.
Why do you always save the best for last?
Why should we not be trusted this week, Ian?
Well, we've won these jobs in a game show.
Jobs implies some sort of payment.
Well, it's just gratification, really, isn't it? That's what we get.
We're certainly not professional. When did you finish watching this week's episode?
For the first time or the second time?
When did you finish taking your notes? When did you get to a point where you could sit down and have a chat about this episode?
Less than 4 minutes ago.
Yeah. Just as well we're not being paid for it, eh?
Well, it's
Sackable
maybe going to be better.
Sackable offence.
Fresh in the memory, I'll remember every word.
It's fresh. It's nearly a commentary track we're doing here.
Close.
Anyway, apart from that...
Commentary track, though, is that not the phrase at the start of any podcast that makes you skip to the next episode?
No.
I do.
I love it.
Oh, I can't.
Because
Especially when in the car.
Oh, I love that. If it's a good movie, if it's a movie that I have seen and I can visualise,
Right.
I can easily... I really enjoy it, actually. Other people's... I mean, it's pretty much what we're doing here. That's what, the audience, they're listening for our views and sort of scene by scene. Columbo more so. It was nearly a commentary track.
It was close to minute for minute.
It was.
It's not the same sort of show here.
It's not. But no, I do enjoy a commentary track. You know me, I often go onto Netflix and record the audio of movies so that I can listen to it going to sleep at night. Anyway, we're rambling here, aren't we, Ian?
Oh, we're getting into the episode.
Easing our way in. Well, we're talking about TV, aren't we? Which is
We are.
appropriate.
It's relevant.
Why is it relevant?
Well, in this episode, we've got a TV studio as the main locale.
Perhaps you could give us an overview, a synopsis.
Some kind of summary, perhaps.
Crack on.
In To Live and Die on TV, Sledge investigates the death of a successful game show contestant, found in his submerged car just hours after winning the chance to play for $1 million. When suspicion falls on the game show host, it is up to Hammer to win the money and expose the villain before he meets an accident of his own.
Short and sweetish.
Sweetie.
No, it's a country.
Okay.
It's a nationality.
Swedish.
Yeah. It's a cross between... I don't know. Rambling. Honestly, a lot of nonsense tonight.
Have you watched this episode?
I have.
What did you think?
I enjoyed it.
It was quite good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was okay. We start in Sledge's apartment.
He's making breakfast.
He is, and what type of breakfast is he making?
It's a standard, a West Coast American breakfast of pancakes.
Yes, but he's not making it with standard implements, is he?
No, well, he has the standard sort of flipper fish slice thing, but his is an attachment for his gun.
A flipper fish, a spatula, maybe.
No, it's not a spatula.
Is it not?
No.
Okay.
I would call it a fish slice.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
What would you call it?
Spatula.
A spatula's a completely different thing.
What is it?
It's a plastic thing for stirring cake mixture, or similar. It's not for flipping.
Anyway.
He's watching a game show.
Yes, he is, and he isn't confident that the contestant on the TV is going to answer the big question. But he is disappointed when he, in fact, does answer it correctly to win a car.
Did you know the answer to the question?
What, I can't remember what the question was.
Where is the National Football League Hall
No,
of Fame?
I didn't know that, but I thought of you at the time and I thought you'd probably get
I
that.
definitely knew that, yes.
Okay.
Canton, Ohio. Do you know where the Baseball Hall of Fame is?
Boston.
Cooperstown.
No, where's Cooperstown?
Don't ask me that.
So this contestant, he wins the car and he's going to progress to the $1 million question the next day. What's the name of this game show?
I think it's $1 million prize, something
Okay.
like that.
It's a forerunner to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
That sort of thing. It appears to be being broadcast live as well, we find out.
Yeah, live and at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
It's an odd time, isn't it?
And also it has a completely different format at this stage than when we see it later on.
Yeah, I think we'll just gloss over that, yeah. Hammer states that he only likes divorce court.
That's his favourite game show because the prize you get to take away.
He really is quite bitter about his previous marriage, isn't he?
Yeah, this isn't the only time in this episode he mentions it.
We're over to the precinct and Dori is chatting about the programme with another female cop. Hammer, however, is not happy.
What is it? Are you two yapping about game shows? Hey, I got a good game show for you. It's called Let's Get Back to Work. This is reality. This is not TV. Boy, the women get together, the mouths go open, and everybody's talking. Comparing your favorite brands of soap and your water weight gain. This isn't a beauty parlor. It's a precinct.
Okay, forget it.
Well, I was just trying to be sociable.
Hammer, both men and women watch game shows. It's a very popular form of entertainment.
Oh, listen, last week I made an arson suspect walk across hot coals. Now that's entertainment. Game shows are for people that are low on brain cells.
That's not true. Have you ever played Trivial Pursuit? That takes brains.
Thoreau, I am in pursuit of one thing, and that is justice. And that takes bullets.
Before we go any further, Ian, apologies. I forgot to insult you at the start of the show, you brain-dead scumsucker.
I'll not take it personally.
Enjoy that clip?
I did.
Favourite line from it?
I think it's when he says he was trying to be sociable. I think that is. He's obviously trying to cover up for the fact that he also enjoys the game show.
Yeah, we find that out later. That clip actually contains my favourite line of the show.
Okay.
When he mentions being in pursuit of justice, and that takes bullets.
It's a good little exchange.
Yeah, it's typical Sledge, I think.
Yeah. I think you can actually see as well, compared to some of the earlier episodes, that the timing between Dori and Sledge keeps getting better.
Yeah, it's a good sign. Who appears on the scene?
Oh, Captain Trunk, as always.
Shouting, as always.
Yeah. He needs Hammer to attend a car accident.
Yes. Sledge initially is fairly reluctant to get involved.
Well, he's a homicide cop. Why would he be going to a car accident?
And we heard at the top, the intro to the podcast, Hammer's response. Tell me, how that came to be. What was the build-up to that?
Well, it starts off, he responds to the suggestion that he attend a car crash as something for the Automobile Association. And Trunk points out to him that the car's crashed off the end of the pier into the water. He says, well, get the Automobile Association and Flipper. And when Trunk, as we heard at the top of the show, mentions the body, then Hammer's interested.
He perks right up, doesn't he?
It's the best part.
Certainly is.
You can actually, I know it's not relevant to this show, but thinking back to Columbo, you can imagine it's probably his reaction as well. It's like a car crash, don't care. In the pier, there's a body. Ah, that's me. Get me a boiled egg, I'm on my way.
We'll discuss Columbo a few more times, I think, in this episode.
Okay.
Now, before they go to look at this body in the pier, Dori tells Hammer that she won't be going with him until he agrees to stop talking about the game show.
Yes.
How does he respond?
He calls a truce.
In what way?
He holds out his hand, doesn't he?
No, I think he says, it's a deal. Now, I'm assuming that's some sort of...
Maybe a game show catchphrase.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't have Deal or No Deal back in those days.
No.
Something else.
We're at the pier.
Yeah, Mayjoy's there.
He is.
He tells Sledge he's sorry to have called him out, it's just a drunk driver.
And that it was quite sad because the driver had a wife.
Yes, and Sledge says that probably explains the drinking.
Yeah.
The diver, did he say the driver took 2 hours to wedge the bottle of water, the bottle of drink out his hand?
Yeah, look like a bottle of vodka.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think they would spend that amount of time doing that.
No, cut the fingers off.
When they raise the car out of the water, though, Hammer recognises it.
Yes, he is quite sheepish about it because he has to admit that he's seen it before. It was the prize on the game show.
Dori is immediately on top of this.
Yeah, but he tries to retrofit an explanation.
Yes, they're not getting bought by anybody, least of all Dori.
He says he was researching this crime
Which hadn't yet happened.
with his time machine.
But yes, Dori calls him a hypocrite, quite rightly. My favourite part of this scene is when they find the victim's identification.
Tell me about it.
It's just a big badge with Mel written in capital
Oh, yes, it's from the game show.
From the game show.
So they decide to go and talk to Mel's widow.
Yes, the widow Jordan.
Widow Jordan. But before they go, what happens?
Yeah, Hammer can't get the car out very easily, and he backs into the crane, I think it is, it's lifting the car out and forces the car to be dumped back in the water.
We're over at the widow, the widow Jordan's house, we think. And Dori, she is quite uneasy about delivering bad news. She says this is the worst part of the job. So Sledge takes over with some hilariously unfortunate consequences.
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, he explains very, very bluntly that there's been an accident, the woman's husband is dead, and she can now cry.
So she starts to break down.
Yeah, she's very upset, of course.
And what happens next?
Dori says, "It's okay, Mrs. Jordan," and she's like, "I'm not Mrs. Jordan." She lives next door.
And Sledge, rather than apologise, he tries to blame her.
Yes, she's not got her address marked clearly. She should consider this a warning. Or what, he's going to kill her husband the next time.
And then he slinks off.
I think, yes, he's covering his tail again on this occasion.
So we go next door to the real Widow Jordan's house.
There's a brilliant visual moment here.
Yes, we see all the prizes from the game shows lined up in the...
Yeah, like the display you would get on a game show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
She's grieving, and she informs them that her husband was kind and gentle. That's actually I've said my favourite line before, but I think this might just top it. He immediately retorts by saying, "Too bad he wasn't waterproof." So things that quick.
Yeah. She's unhappy. She last spoke to her husband after he won the car. He said he was coming straight home. Mm-hmm. And she's particularly upset because they were going to start a family. And Hammer's shocked at this.
Yes, he doesn't. He assumes that she means that they're trying to win one in a game show.
Well, to be fair to Hammer, he's only not that long removed from an investigation where babies were being stolen to order.
Yeah.
So maybe it's kind of stuck in his brain a little bit there.
Could be. That's great as well.
Yes, when she asks if he went it peacefully.
Yes, she said, how bad was his, how terrible were his final moments? And Hammer starts off well enough, but it goes downhill rapidly.
Yeah, he says it's one of the more peaceful ways to go. Locked in a car, clawing the doors, your lungs fill up with water. The first couple of minutes are pretty scary, then you die, so you don't know. That's pretty much perfect.
Yeah, this whole scene with the neighbour and then the widow Jordan, I thought it was top notch.
She obviously gets more and more distressed as Hammer talks.
We see them now, they're leaving, they're outside, and
this is also brilliant.
Sledge bemoans the materialism of game shows before we see that he's accepted a lovely set of golf clubs.
Yes, Dori questions her, if that's how you feel, why have you accepted those? And he says he was trying to make her feel better.
Yeah.
And they are lovely.
Although, Sledge doesn't strike me as a golfing type.
Yeah, no, he might be.
You think?
Yeah.
He'd have some sort of high velocity club, wouldn't he? He wouldn't just be your average.
Yeah.
Some adapter on his club.
Or maybe just be a driving range sort of a fellow.
Yeah, with a big Bertha type.
Yeah, just keeps whacking them and then goes back for another one.
Or maybe exploding golf balls. Grenades in the golf balls that when you hit far enough, they explode.
That'd be his sort of thing, I think.
Yeah.
Did you catch his tongue twister?
Yes, I remember it, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I didn't quite get all of it. I think it's along the lines of, I never heard of a drunken driver who drove in the drink but never drank.
Very good.
And Dori says it's hard to believe. And Hammer's retort is, it's also hard to say.
They decide to go talk to the last people to see Mel Jordan alive.
Yeah, I just think that the way that exchange is handled, and without taking you out of the story, I think it's just nicely done.
No, it's fabulous writing and performances.
Yeah. And another part that I enjoyed, up next, we go back to the TV studio where Bob is hosting the show.
Yes, we've got Bob Kenny. He's a presenter.
Yeah, and he mourns Mel very briefly.
Yeah, before declaring that life goes on, and there's a little jaunty
jingle. Yeah.
Sledge and Dori talk to Bob's PA David and then Bob himself.
Excuse me, may I help you?
Yes, we're here to talk to Bob Kinney. We're police officers.
Sorry, we're in the middle of a hit show.
Yeah, we're in the middle of an investigation, creep.
Hammer!
Relax, David, relax. I always have time to talk to the police. Why don't you put that college degree to work and get me some coffee?
Right away, Bob.
Oh, David, please, call me sir.
We know you're very busy, but we have some questions we'd like to ask you.
Hey, questions. That's my game. Shoot. Just kidding, Inspector.
The category is dead Mels.
Yes, of course, Mel. You know, Inspector, in this business we call show, contestants come and go, but Mel wasn't just a first name on a cheap tag. No. He had a last name, too. What the hell was it?
Jordan.
That's it. Jordan. Mel Jordan. That's it. Lovely guy. Inga, would you please get lost?
Here's your coffee, sir.
Thanks.
By the way, great show today, sir.
Why my watch?
Wind my watch.
Yeah, there are a couple of classic quips. I mean, I thought the relationship between David and Bob was hilarious in this episode. And yeah, I think I said to you earlier, I think I might start using that in general life.
Asking folk to wind your watch.
Yeah, just curtly interrupt them and tell them to wind my watch. Or it might result in a punch in the face, mind you.
A UKIP style altercation.
But it would be worth it.
Sure.
We heard Inga mentioned there. What was she doing?
She was essentially standing beside Bob with the sort of floral gestures that you get from game show assistants.
Yeah.
It's funny, actually, talking of game show assistants and dead Mels, although this one's not dead, but it made me think a bit of Sideshow Mel from The Simpsons, who's essentially shoved in a cannon and shot off, and but David reminded me of him a little bit, especially when they brought up the subject of Mels.
Of course, and with when we're talking about The Simpsons, there was obviously a sort of Burns-Smithers relationship there as well.
Absolutely.
Sledge doesn't buy it when Bob says that Mel was acting very nervous and said that he was going to have a few stiff drinks.
It's a very convenient thing for him to have said.
Far too convenient. And then Bob leaves to go and talk to a young president of the station.
He calls him my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dori, though, is not entirely unconvinced. She thinks it's possible that this guy maybe just got nervous and got drunk and drove into the pier.
Mm-hmm.
But Sledge he's not having it.
No. Sometimes Sledge's instincts are worth following.
Well, quite often, actually, when we look back.
Over to the precinct, and Sledge calls a familiar face.
Norman Bates.
Norman Bates.
It's not Blake.
Would you like to put a small wager on this one?
£1?
Yes. How about one coffee?
Oh, there you go. Norman Bates, it says, so I'll be having the coffee. Bates!
Bates Motel.
That's in Sledgehammer. He's Norman Bates. So I'll be having a flat white.
I didn't say in which programme we're talking about. I said he'd play the character Norman Bates. We'll call it a draw. Anyway. Yes,
the coroner, who you think might have called with this information as soon as he had it, reveals that the death was not by drowning or indeed involving alcohol, but by a blow to the head.
Correct.
Which leads to Hammer giving probably my favourite quip of the episode.
What's that?
He says that Jordan was dead sober. We give it a time skip now, and Dori is on her microfiche reader, or whatever it was in those days.
She discovers that Bob Kenny was declared bankrupt sometime in the past for debts amounting to $1 million, but they have recently been paid off.
Hammer concludes that the paying off of the gambling debt means he wouldn't have the money to pay a winner of the game show. Now, is that how it works? Does the host I mean, unless it's his production company.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. No, I mean, also, what I'll tell you just now, I guarantee this, Blates style. This is all to do with insurance as well.
Yeah.
So they'll probably just insure against that. You won't necessarily have £1 million sitting in the bank for them to get. They might take out an insurance. I'll give you an example. Until recently, in snooker, the 147, when it used to be like £147,000 for the prize money, they would just have an insurance against it happening because it didn't happen that often. So it's cheaper to pay the 5 or 10 grand perhaps per season
to keep that money by.
So I would think that in this case, if it's never happened before, and it's obviously for £1 million, it's not going to be easy to do, that they were just insuring against it rather than having £1 million sitting in the bank waiting, because that's wasted money, isn't it?
Well, if that's the case, that doesn't explain why Chris Tarrant always looks so nervous.
Not only does Hammer work out what's happened, he believes that Mel slipped through the net and got to the final stage because he looked dumb but turned out to be a genius, a tactic that Sledge claims to use himself. Now, do you think Sledge sees himself as a bit of a Columbo?
That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Mm.
Certainly, we've talked earlier, his instincts do seem to be right, and he does often come across as a bit of a bumbling fool. It's only when he's doing something bumbling that he says, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing."
Correct.
Well, let's not reach any conclusions today.
Over to the studio again, and Bob is getting his makeup done and having his shoes polished by David. He says he's not happy with Sledge's harassment when Sledge turns up, but how does Sledge respond?
Well, he says he's not harassing him. He says, "If I were harassing you, you would know it."
He is merely a superfan who wants to be on the show, and he is therefore given a test question. He has to name the film about a peace-loving man who united India.
Yes, Sledge says Rambo.
And at this, Bob is convinced that he is no threat and agrees to put him on the TV.
Bob, why are you putting him on?
That guy's as dopey as all the others. I'll humiliate him on local TV. That'll deprive him of all credibility. So if he tries to charge us with something, it'll make him look like a sore loser.
Brilliant, Bob, but I'm scared.
Look, you work for me. I'll tell you when to be scared. You wanted to work in TV, didn't you?
Yes, but I killed a man for you.
That's part of working in TV. Do you know how many people would kill you for your job?
Okay, Bob, okay. Can I get you some fresh coffee?
No. Your coffee-making days are over. Like be a coffee cake.
We skip straight from there and the coffee cake to the precinct.
We do.
It's one of my favourite moments of the episode because I like the way that Dori's character, she gets presented as someone who knows what she's doing and how to handle herself, but she still gets these moments of exuberance from time to time. And this is a good one where she is shocked and I think a little bit delighted and a little bit appalled to learn that Sledge is going on the game show.
Yes, and he is going to cheat and requires her help.
I love this plan because it wouldn't work nowadays. She would just sit with a phone and Google the answers.
We now switch between the library where Dori is, surrounded by encyclopedias and other sorts of books, and the TV studio where Hammer's about to go live.
And the idea that she could go through all those books and find the specific answer in the time available is, I love it. It's possibly my favourite joke of the episode.
Yeah, I think each question had about 10 seconds to answer it. You would struggle to do that even with the internet.
Even knowing which book you had and where the answer was, you wouldn't get close to it. But she does brilliantly. Hammer gets introduced on the show as a police officer whose hobbies are police work.
So he picks his category of questions and is able to answer all of them with Dori's help.
He does. He gets to, I think, 26, and that takes him to, and I think at least 2 opponents.
Yeah, and we can see Bob himself. He's got the fake smile plastered on, but we can see him slump as he realises he's in a bit of trouble here.
Before Sledge can answer the £1 million or the $1 million question, they're going to have a commercial break.
So why with Mel did he get through to win a car?
Yeah, Sledge doesn't win anything.
No, and then he come back the next day.
Yeah.
So why is Sledge doing all in the one go and getting right to the $1 million question?
All I can guess is that David won against his opponents without getting so many correct in a row. So he was going stage by stage, whereas there might be a special rule if you get a certain number. They said 26 correct in a row, you skip straight on to the $1 million question.
We'll give them that. They take an ad break and Bob and David confer.
The cop is a super genius. We can't afford to pay him if he wins.
You flaming fool. No wonder you still live with your mother. Hammer's not going to win. There's going to be another accident.
Not another accident after the show.
After the show? During the show. You see that big spotlight right over his head? That's going to fall and kill him right on the air. We'll have millions of witnesses and the ratings will go right through the roof.
You can't do that.
I know that. You're going to do it.
I've got to kill again?
Please, just this once. I'll do you a favor. I'll take you miniature golfing.
All right, I'll kill him.
One more thing.
I know. Get your coffee.
No, you spineless freak. Get me an espresso.
What upsets you more?
Espresso.
I was going to say the idea of him ordering his assistant to kill someone or calling espresso an espresso.
The ordering of the killing is third. The second most annoying thing would be his pronunciation of miniature.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But Espresso's the one for you.
Oh, definitely. It's just wrong, isn't it?
It's vile behaviour from a supposed adult.
He should be beaten to death for that.
Yeah, sort of a light dropped in his head.
Mm.
When the ad break finishes, by he I mean Bob, goes over to Sledge, slaps him in the back, and this causes a bit of a problem.
Yes, he knocks out his earpiece, which he then proceeds to accidentally stand on.
Yeah, he has no idea the earpiece was ever there,
No.
but he has ruined the plan.
Yeah, Sledge is now apparently in big trouble.
Yeah, but obviously the library was quite close,
Mm-hmm.
because Dori makes her way to the studio.
Luckily for Sledge, that she does.
Yeah.
Now, I can't remember the question, but Sledge knows the answer to it.
Yes. It was, I can't remember the fellow's name, but he asks, what is this guy the father of?
Yeah, but before he can answer it, Dori bursts in, jumps at Sledge, and throws him to the ground.
Meanwhile, back at the precinct, Trunk and the team are watching now on television.
Yes,
And
they
they
are.
see this happening. The light crashes to the ground.
Missing Hammer by inches.
Yes. And Dori gets up and stops David.
Before,
Before that, Hammer chastises her for stopping when he knew the answer.
yes, he was frustrated. And why did he know the answer?
Because it was the creator of the Magnum, the 44
I
Magnum.
think 44 Magnum, yeah.
Yeah. But Dori gets to David and sends Sledge after Bob.
Yes, and we have this sort of finale fight chase sequence.
Yeah, I mean, Bob has previously referred to David as spineless, and he proves it here by confessing to Dori without any kind of pressure whatsoever.
Yeah.
He made me do it. He made me kill that man and get coffee.
Now, did you like this little chase scene where they go through the different TV sets and Trunk and the rest of the officers watching on TV flick between the different channels and see him appear and fight on these different sets?
It reminded me of something. I'm sure someone's done this, either on a TV show or in a film or something. I can't place it.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's probably been a few. I wonder if this is one of the first.
I wonder. It could be. But it's entertaining enough, especially with the puppet show going on and then into the news report.
Yeah. Well, that's where it finishes. It finishes on the news desk.
Yep. And Bob runs out of bullets, so Hammer is able to pin him down and arrest him. He fills in the news anchor on what's just happened, and he reports live
From the scene of the crime?
from the scene of the arrest, at
Yeah.
least. And there's no little final scene this week.
No, it ended very abruptly.
I guess they were pushed for time.
No epilogue, credits roll.
That's it.
That disappointed me a little bit. I do like the epilogue.
I like it because I like the continuing development of the relationship between the three leads, because I think it's one of the, I want to say underrated, but I don't know how folk rated it, but one of the sort of things that we should be picking out in a show like this, because I think it's very well done.
It is. And also it's an opportunity to hear and see more of Trunk, which I missed this week.
Yeah, he didn't get much input, but he's certainly a great character.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you got some trivia for it.
Before I go on to that, you enjoyed it, yeah?
Yeah, it's a good episode, yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Fun.
I think the show is at a high level. Like we said, I think a couple of weeks ago, it's just kind of in a groove and it's going along with good writing, good performances, and it's doing well for me in achieving what it's set out to achieve.
Glad you're enjoying it. So, some production information. It was first broadcast on 13th of December 1986. The director was Daniel Atius. He is very prolific to this day. Some of the shows that he has directed include Homeland, The Americans, Ray Donovan, True Detective, 16 episodes of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, one of my favourites, House, Entourage, The Wire, 6 Feet Under, Sopranos, Party of Five, Northern Exposure, and Beverly Hills 90210.
I'm still always surprised when I remember that you don't watch Ray Donovan. It seems like a show that's made for you.
Why?
Because it's about crime and boxing.
Yeah, it's one of these things that there's just so much on these days, isn't there?
Yeah.
I'm struggling to keep up with the shows that I do watch,
Yeah.
but I'll get round to it.
You should.
A little less entertaining is the fact that in 2002, his son went on a bit of a rampage, murdered 4 people on a university campus by running them over in his car. He was found insane and is currently under lock and key at a mental hospital.
Certainly. Noteworthy.
Brian Pollock and Mert Rich were the writers. We've met both of them before. This is the third of 10 episodes for Brian Pollock.
What was your favourite line that they put in this episode then?
It's a line about being in the pursuit of justice and that takes bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, there are a lot of great moments in this episode. I think my favourite line was the one about the next contestant being a police officer whose hobbies include police work.
Yeah. And honourable mentions to Wind My Watch.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Call me sir.
Yeah. So, Peter Marshall played Bob Kenny.
Okay.
I'd imagine most of the American listeners will be well aware of the fact that, yeah, he was a famous game show host,
Right.
known for Hollywood Squares.
Okay.
At least 1,275 episodes. 1,275 episodes of the original run, and then I think it came back later for a few more seasons.
Right.
So that's what he's most famous for. He's played himself in a number of TV shows and programmes.
It's just a version of himself then.
Yeah, and he's done a little bit of acting, but he's a game show host.
Okay.
Born in 1926 as Ralph Lecoq, or Laycock.
Okay.
David was played by Ken Lerner.
Okay.
He's a brother as well, but we've mentioned and we've discussed Ken Lerner in another life in the Columbo podcast. He was born in 1948. He has been in Maniac Cop, The Running Man, L.A. Law, Buffy, Chicago Hope, Happy Days, lots and lots of other things.
Okay. Presumably also Columbo.
He was in an episode of Mrs. Columbo. Now, can you remember? He was also in an episode of Columbo.
Okay.
Which one?
I don't know.
He played Dr. Walter Neff.
Right, let me think. Walter Neff. He wasn't a dentist, was he?
No.
Any more clues?
He was quite geeky.
Mind Over Mayhem?
No. He was one of the doctors in the sex clinic in Sex and the Murray Detective. He was
Right.
trying to squirm his way into one of the doctor's pants. Dr.
Right.
Walter Neff.
Okay.
And Tony Attell played Officer Grace. That was the female cop who,
At the start.
who Dori was talking to. This is the first of 2 Sledgehammer episodes for her. She has been in the A-Team, Babylon 5, Beverly Hills 90210, Knots Landing, and she was a comedian and mime who opened for Jay Leno, Steve Martin, and Robin Williams.
There you go.
Apparently, Alan Spencer and Pollock, the director, met whilst writing for a game show hosted by Peter Marshall. And Spencer was sacked because his humour was not mainstream enough.
Right, well, they would have enjoyed doing this then.
Yeah.
You would think.
Next week, we have Miss of the Spider Woman.
That's quite a mouthful.
Interesting title.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say before we wrap up this week?
Just the usual. Please keep on chipping in at sledgehammerpodcast.com. Get us on Facebook and on Twitter at Sledgecast. Please rate, review, subscribe in iTunes if you possibly can. We really appreciate it. Helps more people find the show, which is great for us. It's also great for you because it helps more folk get involved in those conversations. And please come back again next week and we'll see you then.
Cheerio.
Bye.